be interested in buying the Churchill Downs property?
Why should I do that?
Because if you don't buy it, that track is going to go out of business. And then there will be no Kentucky Derby.
I was dumbfounded. I had heard that the operators of the Downs were experiencing financial difficulties, but it never occurred to me that they were of such magnitude that they could not carry on. The prospect of ending the Derby appalled me. I had seen everyone since the first in 1875 at the age of 13 standing in my father's wagon in the infield. Derby Day had always been a great festival day in Louisville, the one we all looked forward to as reunion time with old friends, the day of feasting and hijinks, and plenty of comradeship, climaxed by the race itself.
What's the answer?
I'm a merchant tailor. I'm satisfied with that. Find another customer.
If you buy this, the Derby lasts forever. If not, the Derby dies.
How much?
In late 1902, Matt Winn and his partners did buy the Churchill Downs Racetrack for $40,000. It was a very risky venture because in 28 years of running the Kentucky Derby, Churchill Downs had never made a profit. Winn knew that it was going to take a different management style to turn the Derby fortune around and also take better horses. It took a long time for this to happen, but finally in 1915, a 3-year-old filly, female horse named Regret, came to Kentucky and beat the boys. And after she won the Derby, her owner, H.P. Whitney, said, "I don't care if she ever wins another race, this is the one we wanted, and I'm satisfied." A few years after that, Sir Barton came to town. He had never won a race in his entire life, but he won the Derby, and then he won the Preakness, and then he won the Belmont, and that started racing's Triple Crown. Matt Winn was such a cherished member of our Louisville community, and he had a large family. He had 10 sons and daughters, and many of them stayed in Louisville and lived their lives in Louisville. I spoke to a great-grandson of Matt Winn, Mr. Richard Herman, at the Kentucky Derby Museum, and got his thoughts on his great-grandfather. We're standing in the Matt Winn Gallery here at the Kentucky Derby Museum, and standing next to me is Mr. Richard Herman, who is a great-grandson of Colonel Winn. And Mr. Herman, thanks for coming in today.
Thank you.
And,
Thanks for having me.
Tell us about sort of the Winn family in Louisville. Of course, Colonel Winn died in 1949. Tell me a little bit about your family.
Well, my father was Louis Herman, and he passed about 10 years ago, but he was born in Louisville in 1920, and his mother was Olive Winn Herman,
Right.
and she was one of 10 daughters that Colonel Winn had.
And even though you were not involved in the management aspect of racing, tell us about your involvement in horse racing, if you would, please.
I always, as I said earlier, I've always loved the horses. I think they're just majestic animals. And so in 2003, a friend of mine, Brian Cromer, and I started a syndicate, and we named it MTCP Stables for Make the Colonel Proud. And we had a group of people who just wanted to put in a little money. We didn't have a lot of money to waste, and but we wanted to have a reason to get a group of people together, come to the races, have a beer, watch our horse run, and who knows, maybe win a race. And sure enough, we've been in it, let's see, it was 2003, so 14 years.
Wow, yeah.
And we've had quite a few horses, and we've won quite a few races, and it's the best.
What about any stories you could tell? We know Matt Winn wrote a book, Down the Stretch, just full of great stories. What about family stories maybe that have been passed down that you could share?
No matter who it was or what time of year it was, when my friends would come over to my house and Colonel Winn was there, he always knew he was very kind, greeted them warmly, always remembered their names.
Okay.
Always remember their names. And I thought, how? That is a rare talent to be able to, it is a gift.
Right.
But I think that speaks a lot as to the kind of person he is. He's obviously a great promoter, obviously a good businessman, very passionate. You know, the Derby was his life, and he did a lot of other things, but nothing meant as much to him as promoting the Derby and, you know, making it the greatest race in the world and all the tradition that goes along with it.
Do you think that he gets the attention that he deserves of turning it around? I mean, like I've been there many times, and you know, I'd love to see a historic marker there. But you know, Colonel Clark founded the Derby, and he's forgotten on so many levels.
Right.
What do you think, Colonel Winn? Do you think he gets the attention he deserves?
Personally, why they don't have a sign of him up like, you know, they do with Paul Horning and some of the other great Jennifer Lawrence and you know, Jen's Louisville.
Right.
I've always kind of been surprised that they don't have one of those of Colonel Winn, at least around Derby time.
Right.
But you know, that's
Right.
I really believe deep down, and certainly the way I feel about it, is the thanks comes from the fact that it's just such a magnificent festival, and it brings Louisville together. And like Dad always said, if you don't like Louisville during Derby week, don't come back. That's as good as we got.
Well, Mr. Herman, thank you for stopping by the Derby Museum today and sharing with us about Colonel Matt Winn. We really do appreciate it, and it's so exciting that you guys are still in the community involved here at Churchill Downs.
Thank you for having me. We really appreciate it.
Thank you. Who knew that on May the 17th, 1875, a teenager in Churchill Downs, standing on his father's grocery wagon, would go on to take over the presidency of Churchill Downs and lead them over 40 years through the Great Depression, through 2 world wars, through a natural disaster of the flood of '37, from all kinds of hostile takeovers and business deals, and through bankruptcies, to make the Derby what it is today. This summer, in 2017, Matt Winn will be honored as an elected member of racing's Hall of Fame in Saratoga, New York.